cozy. Hello everybody, welcome to Sketchbook Session number 4. So this week is gonna be just a little bit different because over the past couple weeks-ish, I was working on and off on this illustration that I'm gonna work on for this video. It's sort of like a cottagecore inspired girl, and there's a bike, and there's like a chicken involved, so like it's just something I felt like drawing. It's something I started drawing one morning in my sketchbook, and I was like, I'm kind of busy these days. I wonder if I should record a sketchbook session so that I have something banked for future weeks. And that ended up being very valuable because I'm so busy. It's stupid. I'm in this phase where I'm trying to work on multiple videos per week because, like, I want to try to be ahead, and I almost always get behind. It's not working out too great. It's fine. Also, I'm very sorry, my voice it just like decided to stop working right before I started recording this. So if I ever sound like I've just consumed some barbed wire, that's why. I'm very sorry about that. Anyways, so the good thing about that is that, like, I've been wanting to do a Q&A session for a while because I've never done one before, and I got a lot of questions, like, regularly, a lot of repeat questions, and a lot of just random, I don't know, like, I figured it would be good to just do a Q&A so that I can also answer questions that are, like, very disparate art ideas, where it's like, I'm not gonna make a whole video devoted to this. Like, I might actually make a whole video devoted to disparate art questions, if there's enough demand for that. But the point of this is, I just wanted to do a Q&A, and I think a longer form drawing like this works rather well for that. It did take me entirely too long to draw this thing, so unfortunately it's not real time, but I've tried to not speed it up more than like 4 or 5 times as opposed to my normal like 1,000 or 2,000 times because I'm slow. So that's why this video is like 45-ish minutes. I hope, gosh, I really hope that the final edit isn't longer than that. I'm having a moment. Anyways, so that's why it's long, but also sped up. So hopefully it'll give you guys something to draw to for like a while, you know? Anyways, I'm acrylic painting. It was a lot of fun. Follow along, draw along, do all the girl boss things that you would normally do when consuming my videos. Also, I've gotten into saying girl boss way too much because of Mike's Mike and Brittany Broski, and it's annoying every single person around me. Mostly Tommy. I am so sorry that I keep saying girl boss. I hate everything. Alright, let's get started with the Q&A. So I saw the first question I wanted to answer in my notifications earlier today, and I feel like the person deleted it, so I just like felt I needed to answer it. But the question was along the lines of, do you like pineapple on pizza? And the answer is yes. Adamantly. Yes. I adore pineapple on pizza. I had it like just last Friday, like a week ago. It's amazing. I frequently consume it, and anyone who doesn't enjoy pineapple on pizza, I'm sorry, get out. Because this is a pineapple and pizza kind of channel. No, it's fine. I respect your opinions, but it is really good, so just don't judge me. Moving on. So I don't know if I'm gonna read the names of people whenever I answer these. I feel like it might get kind of like annoying and boring, but I guess I'll shout some of you guys out if I can. Like, the biggest thing is I'm gonna butcher so many usernames if I try to read them, so we'll just go with the flow. It's fine. Also, this is gonna be a very like podcast style sketchbook session because I'm like just literally rambling, but alright, the second question is from someone called Smugs, I think, and they ask, do you plan on drawing tons of animals in future sketches? And tons is all capitalized, and I guess, like, maybe? The way they phrased it just really gets me, because it's like, basically, do I plan on drawing tons, like, all animals. Like, not necessarily just like the regular amount, I guess. Like, expect basically what I have been doing. So, I hope that answers your question. So another person, Slushy Girl Kawaii, says, what is your goal in art? Examples are having a painting displayed in a museum, be a major inspiration in the art community like Bob Ross, or I'm so sorry, or be like Bob Ross, or a book cover illustrator, etc. I don't really know at this point. I guess my main goal with art, it's a selfish goal, but I just want to be able to do art like every day, regularly, and the easiest way I see to do that is for this to sort of become my job. So I guess my overall goal is to, you know, be able to do art for my job in some form or another, if it means YouTube or like doing something else. Even like, I'd really be willing to do anything at this point to do art for my job, because it's just like what I've been doing always. Like, I've never had a regular job. I've always just been like freelancing or doing this because it's always, you know, paid enough, like more than like a minimum wage job, and been like worth it in terms of how enjoyable it is. So that's sort of just what I want to do. I mean, I would love to build a community and like meet other art friends, and I don't know, like I guess if I were to have a long-term goal, it would be to publish a comic or a graphic novel. I've always wanted to do that, but I'm like really disorganized, and I have so many ideas floating around in my head, and I start putting them down on paper, and it just normally doesn't go anywhere because the style of thought that is in my brain, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you guys, I only really like world building. I don't really like writing stories. So I like designing characters, and I like designing worlds and figuring out like magic systems and that kind of stuff. Because like all of my ideas are pretty much fantasy. None of them really take place in the real world. Like Monstrosity would be the closest, but even that is like an alternate timeline. So anyways, I don't have the writing gene, whatever it is. So I'm working on it. I'm trying to learn more about actual writing so that I can like make a cohesive story, but whatever that gene is that people have that give you good ideas for like plot lines and character arcs, I don't have it. So I guess maybe at some point it might be wise to like team up with a writer or something. If I never get my butt, you know, off the chair. I'm so sorry. Gosh, we're only like 8 minutes in, I'm already like losing my mind. But yeah, I guess publishing some kind of graphic novel really would be it, like something original. Like I'd love to work on a long-term project like that, because like it's always been what has inspired me to draw in the first place, like film, television, you know, that sort of thing. Like music too. Like my other like weird goal is I really want to like get good enough at filmmaking itself to maybe like shoot music videos or something like that, or at least come up with concepts for music videos. I don't know, it just seems like really cool. Like that high concept stuff is just so interesting to me, and I do happen to have a boyfriend who wants to be a musician, so like, hey, I might get my chance to shoot my little amateur music video. I'm gonna stop rambling now, let's go on to the next question. Alright, gosh, this is the first name that I'm gonna butcher. I think Naeli Pierre? I am so sorry. They asked, how do you find art buddies when all of your friends aren't into drawing? Hope that's not a dumb question. I am so sorry. I'm not the person to ask about this, because the truth is I don't. Like, growing up in high school and everything, all of my friends were into drawing and art to some extent, but like, we're like old now. My friends have jobs, like they don't have a lot of time on their hands to sit around and like draw anime art like I do, and the only reason I'm still doing it is because like I'm trying to pursue it for kind of like a career. Like most of my friends are in it on more of like, you know, this is a passion, this is more of like a hobby. So I don't really have a lot of friends who are super into drawing, at least not the genre of art that I draw. Like, all my friends kind of draw, like, different stuff from me. Like, so I don't really know, like, if you guys have some advice for finding art friends and people who like to draw, that would be great, because, like, I have been so deprived, like, suffering. I miss having art friends. I did in high school. I had internet friends who were art friends, and they're busy with their jobs too now. So it's, like, really hard once you become an adult and you have, like, things that you have to do that are obligations, and you can't just sit around and, like, draw in your sketchbook all day like you could in high school. Or at least I could, because I was homeschooled and I would just try to draw it every, like, second I could. Anyways, moving on. Let's see. Moonshine says, what is your go-to thing to draw when you feel uninspired? Quintessa. I just draw my character Quintessa, like, all the time. I was drawing Rose mostly for a while, but Rose's face, and, like, I haven't been drawing her right recently, so I'm just, like, giving her a rest for now. But mostly Quintessa and other cute girls. It's just, like, an automatic thing that I like to draw, and there's not a whole lot of depth behind it. I just like them, but it's really good if you have, like, a character that you draw when you feel uninspired, because not only does it give you something to draw, but it also helps you to get good mileage on that character and helps you to, like, get more consistency with their face and their build and their features, because for the longest time Quintessa would look different every time I drew her, but now she's looking pretty consistent. Like, I generally know what she looks like. So that's a good thing to draw if you feel uninspired. Sometimes I also draw my cat. Alright, moving on. Next question. Next question is kind of similar to a question I already answered. They asked, is there a main ambition in your art? Like, would you like to be famous, or in a book, or a YouTube? Again, comics. So, alright, next question is from Aaron, I think? Gosh, I can't read. They ask, how do you develop your style? How do you stay creatively motivated? And how has your day been? My day's been good. Been busy. Doing a bunch of engineering drawing things. So how do you develop your style? Let me see if I can answer that in any kind of valuable way. So style is, like, a weird thing. I've been watching a lot of videos on it recently too, cause, like, I'm not unhappy with my style, but I want it to evolve and move forward in a way where it's gonna be more consistent. It just lacks a lot of consistency right now. Unless I'm drawing Quintessa, of course. But I guess one of the things that I've been hearing a lot is that you should focus more on your artistic voice than your style, and people kind of define artistic voice as the kind of, like, genre of art that you draw. I'm losing my voice again. Why is this happening now? Anyways, it's, like, the genre of art that you draw, and, like, sort of what your art is, like, trying to overall say, sort of the vibes of your art, if that makes sense. I don't know. If someone can explain it better in the comments, please do so. But yeah, I've been kind of focusing on that more lately, in, like, my artistic voice between the sort of genres that I like to operate in. So, like, I have my art that's sort of, like, sketchbooky and, like, and then I have my art where I like drawing, like, the cutesy Instagram girl kind of stuff, and then I have basically my two main comics that I sort of am working on, and that's, like, one of them is fantasy themed, and then one of them is, like, sort of an 80s, 90s inspired Monster Kids comic, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. So I guess mainly I kind of focus on that. Like, my style is basically just a Frankensteining of all of the things that I've seen over the years from artists that I like, or different things that I like. Like, if I'm studying some art that someone did, my art is just gonna look like their art for a while, because I start using the kind of shape language they use, and all the little stylistic details just creep into my art, and then I'll cycle through a bunch of different styles, if that makes sense. Like, it's not as consistent as one would think. But I would say, like, shape language plays a big part of my style. Like, more and more I find myself using very angular shapes rather than curves. And I feel like that actually makes a big difference in what my art looks like. Like, it's looking a lot different than it did even in my first sketchbook tour, if you guys saw that. If you see my art now, it's, I'm sure, looking a lot different. So I guess my main advice for developing a style would be study the art you like, find out what you like about it, dive into the kind of line work that it has. If it has line work, does that line work have weight to it, or is it more thin? Like, what's the shape language that they're using? Like, what's the genre? Color is a huge thing for me. Like, study the colors that the artists you love use, because, like, color is so hard, you guys. Like, it's really a lot more difficult than some people give it credit for, because, like, whenever you're trying to, I guess, paint traditionally, this is a good example, you can't just, like, color pick, right? So you have to have a pretty good command of colors, because you can't just, like, change colors over and over again. You can, but you have to paint over an area over and over again to be able to do that. So having a good knowledge of, like, color and learning from people who are really good at what they do, I think is, like, great for finding a good style. And then I would also say, like, do lots of studies, like, make sure your anatomy and proportions is good, because, like, the real life that you see and draw will also sink into your work and impact your style. And then the biggest thing I would say that impacts your art style and, like, determines what it is, like, what you like. Like, I think your influences in terms of, like, what kind of pop culture stuff you're into and what kind of genres of work and art that you like will probably impact your work a lot. So I guess this is probably not making any sense. I hope it is, but study the things you like, figure out why you like them, and then try to implement that into your style as best you can. Like, experiment with it, mess around with it. It's going to change a lot over time. And my last piece of advice is just let it change. Let your art style do what it wants, because whenever you're trying to force it, it usually doesn't go super well. And I'd say whenever I'm struggling with style the most, it's usually just an indication that I need to go and study for a while. Because it's usually like I'm rusty on my anatomy, my proportions aren't good, I'm not paying attention to the forms of what I'm trying to draw, I'm just trying to draw in an art style. So, art style is really just problem solving. You're taking a problem, which is, how do I simplify this object? How do I simplify this person's face in a pleasing way? So it's really just taking things and simplifying them in a way that is pleasing and looks good. So that's it. I don't know if that makes sense. I'll probably make a video about art style at some point that's more cohesive and, like, makes sense, but I guess if I were to recommend some people for art style to you, Ethan Becker makes a lot of good videos about art style. He has a lot of, like, great stuff because he works in the animation industry, and if you work in the animation industry, you have to, like, be able to draw in a range of styles. So I think he does a good job of, you know, like, telling you what is important about style, and, you know, how much of it is just, like I said, problem solving, trying to simplify something in a visually pleasing way. Like, it's really not that important, at least compared to, like, those fundamentals. Because once you know the fundamentals, you can kind of draw in anyone's style, because you can break it down. And you can kind of then create your own. I'm gonna start rambling about this. I hope that it made some sense, but yeah, I'm gonna make an art style video at some point. I actually started a while back and I hated it, so I didn't finish it, but I'll make one. Once I know more and am, I guess, more qualified to talk on the subject. So, and then they also asked, how do you stay creatively motivated? I guess my answer to that would be do commissions every day for 5 years. That's a good way to stay creatively motivated, because you have to. If you have clients waiting and you've given them a time frame that you have to, like, operate in, you stop, like, you have to be able to perform. So my advice is maybe that to a lesser extent, but I guess one of the things that helps me to be able to draw all the time on a regular basis, I draw probably every day, is just simply that I got used to doing it, and I got used to drawing things even whenever I was like not in the mood to draw things, because you just have to. So I guess the biggest thing that helps me now is like going from project to project, like having a project that has a start and end, and it's not an ongoing thing, is good for me right now with my workflow, because even if I'm not super creatively motivated to make like one video, I can always move on next week to a video that I am motivated to work on. And same thing with a lot of my art pieces that I work on. I don't like linger on them. I don't work on them for long periods of time. So I just kind of like keep going. Like if I'm not motivated to work on one thing, I'll work on it as much as I can, and then I let it go and I move on. I think it's a good practice to have. But I don't want to dance around your question too much. I think you also probably mean like, how do I stay motivated to like keep making stuff creatively? How do I not get art block and burnout? I do. I get burnout really easily these days, actually. So I guess one of the biggest things is take breaks. Like, don't force it. If you're like really having a day when you just don't feel like drawing, don't draw that day. Take a break, move on, because it'll hit you maybe later that week, maybe later that month, like this urge that, oh my gosh, I have to draw, because you haven't drawn in so long. That leads me into my next point. If you're having art block, my best advice would be to turn off that part of your brain that's trying to make stuff and go consume other people's art and work that normally inspires you to make stuff. Like, go back to the source. Whatever it is that inspired you to start making stuff in the first place, go consume some of that medium. Like, maybe it's music, maybe it's a TV or movie, or maybe, heck, it's just going and walking around outside. Maybe it's nature. Go and expose yourself to some of that. Don't let yourself draw at the first urge. Just, like, expose yourself to that. And then, in my experience, normally after a while, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm, like, exposed to this thing I love, and I want to make that. I want to make that. So you'll just have this like explosive, like, oh my gosh, I have to draw a thing now, and it helps you to like keep moving and stay motivated. So I have a lot of things that help me to stay creatively motivated, I guess. It's sort of that cycle of okay, creating things, going really strong, and then burnout, and then I go and I expose myself creatively to the things that I like, and then I go back and I do it all again. It works out pretty good. It's a good cycle, but it is also a good practice if you want to do art for a living, to get used to drawing and creating even whenever you may not want to. But breaks are super important. Don't force it, especially if you're not doing this professionally. It's not going to be helpful. Like, just go at your own pace. The other thing that I've been doing recently, well, not recently, probably for like a year, is like spend some time outside and away from screens and stuff. If you are facing burnout and like art block, it's so good for you. Like, I take a walk pretty much every evening, like a mile or more, and I just turn my brain off and I just walk and I look at nature and I look at just the world, and it's really, really nice. It's so good. So I also recommend stuff like that. Like, taking a break from all things media and screen can also be good for art block, even though media and stuff can inspire. So that's my advice. I hope it was helpful. I know I'm rambling through like so many of these questions, I feel like, but I'm gonna try to pick up the pace a little bit. I feel like literally I had like 3 or 4 in a row that are just, how do you stay motivated? So I hope that was like a good answer for you guys. I guess to extend on the motivation thing is, I don't know, I like doing this. It also is the thing of like, this is my part-time job right now, like I'm earning money from it, so if I want to keep earning money, then I have to keep doing it. That's pretty good motivation, and it beats the alternative, which would be to go get a minimum wage job somewhere. or go back to just doing freelance work, which I didn't make as much money in freelance as I do now. So that's pretty good motivation to keep creating. I really feel like I'm dancing around that question. I'm sorry if I didn't answer it, you know, as well as I could have, but it'll probably make its way into a video at some point. Alright, so, gosh, I'm not gonna attempt your name, because I know I'm gonna ruin it. I'm gonna butcher your name, and I'm so sorry. This person asks for advice for small art YouTubers. And they also wanted to know a new medium that you've been dying to try out but haven't gotten into yet. My advice for small art YouTubers would be, number one, go at your own pace. Like, I know everyone's like, oh, if you want to get into YouTube, like, you have to upload every week, you have to stay consistent. Like, if you're not doing it as a job, if you're just trying to, you know, make it, and especially if you're fighting staying motivated, if you're having a hard time staying motivated, just go at your own pace. Make a video when you feel inspired to, and that's really all that's required of you. Like, don't worry if your videos aren't getting a lot of views to start off with. Like, the YouTube algorithm is a cruel mistress, and she is... who knows what's going on in her head. Like, I swear, I'll make video topics and I'm like, oh, I think this will perform, like, pretty well, or, like, average, and then it just bombs in the algorithm for whatever reason, and, like, you just can't be sure what's gonna do well and what won't. Like, my first sketchbook tour took off out of nowhere. Like, I owe every ounce of my current success to that one video, because my videos before that were, like, whatever. They were just whatever. But I guess my other piece of advice then would be to try to do things that are kind of out of the box and creative. If you really want to become like an art YouTuber, take a lot of your personality and put it into your videos and try to do things that aren't like what other people are doing. Like, one of the things that I'm trying to do on this channel, because like I'm kind of fighting the desire to be a comment YouTuber and dumb garbage content, and also the fact that this is an art channel. So I'm kind of just trying to combine that and make like stuff that, you know, is kind of funny and amusing to watch, that's also sort of artsy. So that's why you get so much of my trash fire editing in like a normal speed paint video, gosh. But I guess that's an example of a way that I've tried to do something that's sort of against the grain of a lot of art channels. Like, there's for sure art channels that are like, they're funny too, they have good editing, but I'm trying to put some more of like my personality and what I like into my videos, and I think it's like a cool thing that people kind of underutilize. Like, don't tie yourself down to any one format. There's a lot of formats on this platform that are really overdone, and that's not to say they're bad, but I think that this newer generation of people getting on YouTube can like really push the boundaries of like format and like what even art content can be. Like, back in the day it was just speed paints, and then you have people doing all kinds of crazy stuff on here with art now. So I don't know, be creative. Like, really just make stuff that you would like to watch, and make stuff that you enjoy making. Because if you're not enjoying making it, you're not going to want to keep doing it. I didn't like making speed paints, they're boring. I like to edit and put trash content on this website, so that's what I started doing. So that is my advice. Do what you want to do. Try to find things that you like making. I hope that that was good advice for you guys. Alright, let's see. Raven asks, how is your human drawing process different than your object or house drawing process? So I guess the first thing is, like, humans are really, like, fleshy. Why did I say it like that? They're like very sort of abstract subjects, because you have all of these contours and all of these curves, and like, you really have to think of it in a different way than you would like objects and houses, because a lot of the things that we have around us, they have like flat surfaces and they have sharp angles and they're very geometric. Whereas people aren't that geometric in reality. Like, you can draw them in a style that is, but people have a much more organic structure to them. So I normally will start a sketch of a person in a way that's like very flowy. There's a lot more gesture to it, and I'll focus a lot on how the hips and shoulders relate to one another, and how the neck and head are tilted, because and the position of the hands. Those are all things that give a lot of like human emotion and expression to a figure, where if you're gonna just draw a drawing, or you're gonna just draw a drawing. If you're just gonna draw an object or something that is, you know, more along the lines of still life, you're gonna try to figure out, you know, the perspective and the geometric angles that go into it. So I'd say drawing people, it's a lot different than drawing objects. But there's just as much structure involved in my process for drawing people as there is for an object. Like, I have my Yeti mic in front of me. I'd use a lot of structure for drawing that too. So I hope that answers your question. So Fire Phoenix asks, are you studying, my brain just melted for a second there, I'm sorry. Are you studying art at school, or are you planning to become a professional artist beyond YouTube, like at a studio or a company? I am not studying art at school. I'm currently going to a community college, and I'm working on my second degree. I'm getting a degree in engineering technology. My first degree was in building construction technology. And I'm doing this because, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a person who likes to eat food and have a roof over my head. And art, let's face it, especially if you're not getting a degree in it, is a difficult field to feel secure in. Like, this starving artist stuff is a myth. You can be an artist these days and always find work and be very successful, especially with, like, visuals are such an important part of marketing these days, and entertainment is like high on the priority list of what people consume. Like, you need artists for like everything. So if you become an artist, you're probably not going to become a starving artist. But with me not attending an art school, because it's outrageously expensive and it's difficult to get on scholarship, I followed my parents' very sound advice of getting something that's a backup plan, something that I can use to earn myself money on a regular basis. And my plan A is this, to just, you know, maybe become an art YouTuber and do that full time if it pans out and I end up making enough money from that. But if it doesn't, you know, become a full-time job, I'll at least have something that I can do part-time or so that's gonna pay the bills and put a roof over my head. So that's why I decided to do what I'm doing, and I'm going to community college because it is outrageously cheap and affordable. My first degree was paid for pretty much entirely on scholarship, and my second degree is so far mostly on scholarship. And I haven't gotten like a full ride scholarship or something. A lot of my scholarships have been just random here and there. Like, my school offers technical scholarships for people, so I've gotten a couple of those. And then for my first degree, I got a scholarship that was specifically for women in the construction industry. So that's what helped to pay for that one. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I don't know if I'm going to go for a bachelor's or not. It depends on, you know, expense and everything. But if not, like, I'll probably go into drafting and that'll pay the bills. So, if nothing else, I hope that this tells you that you don't have to go to art school to become an artist or become good at it. You pretty much have all of the resources that you need to become an artist on the internet, you know? And school, for the most part, I've heard people in the industry who talk about their experience at school. It's great for connections, it's great for meeting other artists, it's great for the experience of it all, and it's great for networking, but it's not absolutely necessary to become a working artist, even in the industry. But to answer your question, I would prefer to be self-employed. I'm probably not going to work in the industry anytime soon. So let's see. Zizzy A asks, do you prefer watercolors or acrylic paint, and what is your favorite pen that you have bought so far? I prefer probably acrylic paint right now, actually. It used to be that I preferred watercolors, but I've been using acrylic paint a lot. I just like the fact that it's so opaque, and the process of like flat painting with acrylic paint is so similar to the process of flat coloring digitally. I feel like I can get really similar results with acrylic paint, so that's my current favorite. I really like watercolors too. And my favorite pen, I think I have it on this desk actually. It's just a basic Bic pen. I get them in like packs of 10 from the Dollar General, and I believe packs of 10 are literally $1. So, it's great. I love them. So someone else with a name that I don't want to butcher asks, how do you layer gouache in your art style? The answer is I don't. I don't use gouache yet. Maybe I will someday. I don't know. It's like my enemy. I've tried it. It didn't work out well. So I don't. But I will be making a video on acrylic paint at some point, if that's what you mean. You're probably seeing some of my acrylic paintings and thinking that it's gouache, because I kind of use it in a similar way that people use gouache. Let's see. Someone asks, I'm gonna read their username. Their username is, and this is me cutting an onion, so that's great. And their profile picture is Death the Kid. Excellent. They ask, favorite music to listen to while drawing? I actually don't listen to a lot of music while I draw these days, just because, like, I listen to so much music, so much of my music, I exhaust it, I murder it, I listen to the same songs on repeat, my brain, it cannot do it. So I watch mostly YouTube while I draw, actually, or, like, I'll put on a show or something, but mostly stuff in the background. For a while there, I was listening to the Jenna Julian podcast, like, pretty regularly while I drew, but now I listen to that while I walk and I run. So recently, most of my YouTube content that I've been consuming has been Survivor videos, people who just make videos about Survivor and the history of Survivor, because I don't know why I'm so obsessed with Survivor. I'm sorry. And then I've been listening to, well, listening. I'll put on a video essay that's, like, long, or I watch, you know, the commentary boys, like Curtis Connor and Drew and Danny, and just old Jenna Marbles videos, just, like, whatever trash I want to throw on. But the gist of it is I don't listen to a lot of music, because my brain gets to focus on something more than that. Like, the consistency of music is just not chaotic enough for my brain. That's it. I'll talk more about my music taste probably in a later video, because it's pretty extensive. I think we don't have much time left, so I don't want to just ramble on about that. Let's see. Someone asked, which is the best Nicolas Cage movie? Answer the question. I feel under duress right now, but if you're gonna force my hand, I haven't seen it, but the film Next has an amazing description. It used to be on Netflix, and I missed it before it left, but I need to see it at some point. It sounds absolutely ridiculous. Let's see, let's find some other people. Alright, so a thing named Sky asked, how are you staying motivated during a time like now, especially during a stressful pandemic? This is definitely a big question. The pandemic was definitely a doozy. It hit all of us pretty hard, especially near the beginning. I feel like a lot of people have at least somewhat adjusted now to how things are, but near the beginning I didn't leave the house, like, at all, obviously. So maybe I'm weird and alone in this, but it actually was kind of good for me at the time, because, like, I have been struggling a lot with, like, social anxiety, and I didn't start having social anxiety until I got into, like, my late teens and 20s, so I'm not great at managing it and coping with it yet. So while it might sound strange, it was kind of a good time for me, because I thrive whenever I'm just left alone, to be productive on my own because I was homeschooled and I work at home. So I, my entire life, have had to be self-motivated to get things done. Most of my life, I haven't had someone standing over me being like, hey, you gotta get this done. I've just sort of been like, alright, I want to accomplish some things, so I just try to set out to do them and, you know, try to get things done the best I can. Sometimes I'm not that great at it, but yeah, it was actually kind of good for me in a lot of ways because it helped me to have fewer excuses not to start doing things. Like, I started doing YouTube again because of the pandemic, because I had time and I was like, I have all the time in the world. If I'm not doing what I love with this time, then it will be a total waste. Like, it was a miserable time. I didn't see anyone. I didn't see my friends. Tommy and I didn't see each other for months, and then we social distanced for the greater part of last year. So that part was absolutely miserable. But in terms of staying motivated, again, like I said, I had fewer excuses, and I sort of just made a schedule for myself, and I was like, alright, I'll try to do this stuff. Then I made a couple videos ahead of time to start releasing on YouTube so that I was a few videos ahead. I started like working out, and I don't know if that's answering your question a whole lot, but like, I wasn't happy at school that semester because it was just like too much. I wasn't getting to do art much, and I love doing art so much. It just gave me the motivation of like, I have this time that I can do art now, and that's something I hadn't had in a long time, so it just gave me motivation to start doing it regularly. But other than that, I guess the other thing that helped me was like just calling people on the phone, staying in touch with friends and Tommy, and going outside a lot. I was outside every day of last year. It was great. It helps a lot. If you can't go outside because you live in the city and, like, you know, there's pandemic there, I'm sorry about that, but a lot of restrictions are lifted now, so I'm sure you could go to a park and keep your distance from people and be fine, but get time outside. Time outside is nice. I hope that was a good enough answer. I just, like, my main motivator is just that I love doing this, and if I don't do it, I'm probably gonna end up doing something that I don't like for a living, or something that I don't like quite as much. So, I don't know, that's, like, the best answer that I have for that. Let's see if I can answer, like, one or two more questions in the time that we have left. I'm sorry. All of these questions that I'm scrolling past are probably gonna take a while to answer, so, alright. This one's pretty good. Falling Nonstop asked, what are some of the side characters in Rose's story? I'm kind of curious. So Rose and Quintessa are actually part of the same story. Quintessa is, I'm not going to spoil too much of who she is, because I'm pretty sure it's plot relevant if that story actually ever gets finished. But she's from a different kingdom. Rose is from, like, the Wood Elf kingdom, and she's part of a knighthood there. So some other characters in the story are, there's a fawn who is also in the Brotherhood named Theo, who is part of the main cast. Once, you know, the characters, their paths cross, he's part of the main team or cast, I would say. And then there is also, so later in the story, Rose becomes a bodyguard for a prince from the Jewel Elf Kingdom. I don't have a formal name for it yet, but they're basically sort of like fae, like sort of fairy, sort of elf sort of thing, but yeah, she's his bodyguard later on. His name is Eugene. He's a very soft academic boy, and she's like, you know, hardened knight, knows how to fight, so they sort of have this trade-off of he helps her in the intellectual ways because as a knight she didn't have a formal education, and as a prince he's supposed to know how to fight and everything, and he doesn't, so she helps him with that, so it's a nice trade-off. It's a very wholesome friendship. Other than that, Rose is basically affiliated with the whole cast of that story later on. You know, I'm not going to spoil that, but I have a vampire boy named Matthias. I have a snow leopard girl called Ashton. Who else? I have Quintessa's brother, Julius. There's so many characters. There's a witch named Poppy. I'm trying to remember everyone else. That might be everyone in the main cast. And there's Theodore the Fawn, of course.
She's a mammoth, of course.
I'll probably make a dedicated video for those guys at some point, because there's a whole story for them. You know, it'd take me a long time to explain some of the stuff, because it's supposed to be like my shonen TM story, if I ever actually finish it and write it. Anyways, alright, so that's pretty much it for this video. I know I didn't get to many questions, but you guys have provided me with a good supply of questions, so I think maybe the next couple sketchbook sessions will be Q&As. Let me know if you guys liked this format. Let me know if I need to improve on answering these questions, because I feel like I rambled a lot and maybe was not all that straightforward, so I'll try to improve at this in later videos. But let me know if you want to see more of this. I'll try to answer all of these questions in one form or another at some point. Thank you to everyone who submitted a question. I have over 100 questions on this post, so if you have a question for me for later, go ahead, go to the post and comment it, or if you thought of something else, go ahead and comment that question. I appreciate all of your comments and all of your questions. You guys are like a very engaged audience. It's like actually ridiculous. All of you are so fun to talk to, and you have like really good questions, and I want to be able to answer all of them. So let me know if that's something that you guys want to see. And I've been, hopefully, if the editing goes right, been showing the finished result of this piece. So, let me know what you thought of it. Let me know if you made it this far. As usual, comment the code word. A wonderful follower of mine with the username I will pee your pants has commented on the Q&A. So, if you get this far, simply comment I will pee your pants, because I really like this person's username. So, there we go. My comment section is going to be very strange this time around. Anyways, thank you guys all so much for watching. If you have suggestions for future sketchbook sessions, just leave them down there in the comment section, and I'll just try to make them as soon as I possibly can. I'll probably do a lot of sketchbook sessions in the coming weeks, because I'm busy and heading into finals, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next week.
And she just, you know, she's cutesy.